The holidays are over, Clint. It's time to put that away. Let me just get you. Signing day is past, Clint. It's time to.
Are those people on the team currently?
Time to forget about those young men for a couple weeks.
Okay.
We are here to think about one thing and one thing only, and that is the domination that we are about to see come New Year's Eve when Georgia just whips the tail of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's talk about what the head coaches had to say leading up to the game this weekend. Some interesting things from both coaches we're going to address here on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back. Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. He is Daniel. I am Clint. We are talking Georgia football leading up to the Saturday. Right. Daniel, there's no more joking. There's no more playing. Nope. There's sure to be bounds of pontification from Buckeye fan.
And welcome to the comments, Buckeye fan. Love to have you here. It's going to be great.
We'll literally keep on showing you examples. Proof our work. We will do so. So when you say, tell me one Ohio State reporter that said we would score 40, we show you one, and then you say, but not him.
Doesn't count. Come on.
It doesn't count.
Come on.
We don't think he's respectable. You said literally one. I showed you one.
We know he's not respectable. We can agree on that.
That's why we made fun of him.
Okay, and so Buckeye
speaking of
fans,
making fun of,
you're here in the comments, and that's great. We would love having you here for the next week. We won't see you after the game, so let us be the first to wish you a happy new year now.
Hey, enjoy it.
Because we will not be seeing you in the comments come January 1. So let's talk about these press conferences, Clint.
Pressers today, Kirby and Day, the head coaches, got on the mic. And they said some interesting things. So we got three things to cover.
Atlanta. Yep.
One, Kirby gives some hints to this game. The second thing we're going to talk about is the health of these teams, and we're going to expose another joker of an Ohio State reporter. And then lastly, Ryan Day had some things, and we're going to expose him for being a fraudulent head coach.
Yikes.
But first, let's get to the man himself. Kirby had some interesting things.
Let's get to the king, the only champion who's coaching in this game.
Gosh, that's good.
Kirby Smart asked about the use of the tight ends in the offense and dropped a little hint in there, kind of skirted right by it at the end of an answer, asked about, the use of the tight ends. First of all, he was able to kind of articulate, well, when you use tight ends, you lose a little bit of team speed. The nice thing about our tight ends is that we don't lose any speed when they come into the game because they're just as quick as anybody else is. But then he said, as he was saying, 12 personnel has been really good to us. We don't run as much 11 as most teams do. We run a lot of 12. And then he said, and heck, we've been running a lot of 13 lately. And then sort of trailed off towards the end of the answer. Now, maybe if you're a Buckeye fan or you're not, or you're kind of new to watching Georgia this season, at first that might sound like hyperbole. Nobody's going to run 13 personnel. We do run 13 personnel, and we have and we will run 13 personnel. If you're a Georgia fan, though, if you've really been locked into this Georgia team, Clint, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that is music to your – that's something Georgia fans, I think, have been waiting to hear, that Todd Monken and Kirby Smart are getting ready to unleash Oscar Delp into this offense, not to substitute for anybody, but just to turn him loose inside the offense. That's music to a lot of Georgia fans' ears.
It really is. And here's the point. If you guys can harken back to the run last year, if you even start with the much maligned SEC championship game, Daniel, the bright spot of that game was Brock Bowers could not be stopped. That was the bright spot.
Could not be almost single-handedly brought us back into that game.
We had a chance, an actual chance of a comeback because of him. Okay. Now, last year playoff run after we got in, Brock continued that success. And he just ran rickshaw all over everybody in his way. Okay? What you're telling me is that we were hinting at that last year. Now, we're hinting at a similar thing from an almost clone where
Now
we're
we
going to
got-
get
Now we got the real Brock Bowers.
correct.
He's still here.
No, he's still standing up.
He's still doing all his stuff, all the things that he does.
Yeah.
We got Darnell, Big O, the man himself. Mismatch, the walking, talking mismatch. And now we're going to bring in a third member, Kenny Mack in the backfield, A.D. Mitchell spread out wide to the right, to the left, I should say. And then these three tight ends in the game, Clint. The versatility that this offense has in that package, in that system. Because you want to talk about run the ball, run tempo.
I was just going to say, yes.
You run tempo. You immediately get back up to the line of scrimmage. You run it again. You run tempo. You immediately get back up to the line of scrimmage. Defense already huffing and puffing a little bit, right? But now you take that heavy personnel, that heavy run set that you've been in, and all of a sudden Stetson checks at the line, and those tight ends just break up, and they divide out, and now you're in a 4-wide set. And 3 of those dudes are big old dudes, and that means the dudes out there covering them are also big old dudes. And those big dudes on defense already hands on the hips, already a little gassed. And now it's 3rd and 3, and Stetson Bennett has just got all the options and all the throwing lanes and windows opened up to him. It's all about what Todd Monken can do and the versatility that these kinds of weapons bring. People don't realize that everybody wants to talk about explosive plays. Georgia is explosive on offense. But it's more about successful plays is what makes a great offense in college football. And for Georgia to be in personnel like that really increases the success rate that they're going to have on each offensive set.
You said it well. Get that hurry up going. When we went quick, we were nearly unstoppable. Again, Georgia fan Todd Monken and Kirby Smart want to control the game. All they care about is winning. They don't care about spreads at all. So if they can control the game, put you in a corner, suffocate you, they will. But to your point, Ohio State fan, you could tell me your linebackers are great. You could tell me that the meat, the gut of your and all of that. You said, fine, let's go. Bring 3 tight ends onto the field. Our tight ends aren't like your tight ends.
That's not where they go. You understand? Like, they can go anywhere.
Watch
they don't
Brock
just
zoom past every defender on a seam route, on a wheel route. Watch Big O get out wide many times. Now, we've seen this. We've been talking about this, and we've been checked by a couple of people that put on their tinfoil hats as well that said, Todd Monken, you saw him beginning to lay this groundwork, and we saw last year the playoff, something changed for Kirby and the team.
Look, the playbook's got pages that we haven't seen yet.
We haven't seen all them pages, and one of those pages is getting all 3 freakish athletes who are big, fast, and strong all over the field, spreading out, bringing them in, tempo, running when we can, check with me, doing a little woohoo over here. I've got a mismatch. It's going to be fun.
And guess what? There's going to be a lot of woo-hooing because there's going to be a lot of mismatches. You understand? That's my favorite part about the Ohio State defense. It's like, well, we're actually really lead the nation in efficiency versus tight ends in defending. Okay, this dude ain't going to come out here run a 3-yard curl in the middle of the field and put his hands up.
No.
Try to catch the football. That ain't what these tight ends are going to do. So that's fine. I can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see you shut down
again. We saw the best linebackers we saw all year, week 1.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do nothing against this offense. Okay? So just slow down. We're going to come back after this, but first I want to let you know, Daniel, have you heard of this little thing called LinkedIn?
I know about the LinkedIn. Yes. No,
you know about the LinkedIn.
You actually told me about him.
Daniel, I'm here to help you out. LinkedIn is your place to go if you need somebody for a job that you have at your opening, at your company, whatever it is that you need. Get the right person for the right job, for the right program, for the right project that you have. Over 800 million people that are part of the network of LinkedIn. They're fantastic. Look, we hinted that we might have to kick Daniel off the pod and I'd be looking for somebody else. Thankfully,
I went and updated the profile. Immediately, just to have it in my back pocket, just to be safe.
Thankfully, the man just went over to an aisle of green and he brought back some goodies. I'm not going to say if he declared or not. And maybe I got some, and maybe he's still employed because of that. But LinkedIn's the place that you can post your job for free right now. LinkedIn.com/locked-on or /college for posting your job for free to get the right candidate for the right job right now. LinkedIn, get the applicants you need for free. Daniel, the another source of contention for this matchup is because the season is long and arduous and hard, and injuries hit.
They do.
Now, Georgia has, we can just say simply this. We got updated on a couple of injuries. The two that we were most intrigued about were Ladd and McClendon. These are the two cats.
Yeah, both SEC championship game injuries.
We know that Nolan is gone for the year, and he's still on the sidelines repping his boys and coaching them up, and you're a damn good dog because of it, Nolan. We love you. You're fantastic. So other than that, Daniel, we heard basically no chatter anywhere else, and everyone that was maybe banged up, but not worth noting, not worth talking about, is healthy, and the guys that were banged up, worth noting about, they are now, it seems, back to health, Daniel.
It does seem that way. It really seems like Georgia's as healthy maybe as they've been all year going into this game. And obviously the Nolan Smith injury is a big one. And just because we have gotten through the 6-7 games or whatever it's been since he's gotten hurt, just because we've gotten through those games unscathed, I compare it to, if you look at both of these teams, the Nolan Smith injury is the Smith and Jigba injury. If you're gonna compare the two teams, it is an NFL player, a superstar talent. One's an offensive player, one's a defensive player, obviously, and they both missed massive chunks of the season. Obviously, Smith and Jigba injured in the Notre Dame game to kick off the season. Really hasn't played any meaningful football for the Buckeyes in months and months. Nolan Smith, likewise, it's been several weeks since we've seen him out there. Not gonna see him for the rest of the season. Both guys, the next time we see them play football will be on Sundays. So the difference is that Georgia has had all these little injuries on top of that. They've had all these little guys, these guys banged up. None more notable than A.D. Mitchell, obviously, who missed several weeks with, just one of these nagging foot injuries, ankle injuries that just would not seem to ever go away. And then you see Ladd go down in the SEC championship game, which was really AD's first game back, and you think, Georgia just can't catch a break. It doesn't seem like we're ever going to have a fully healthy receiver room. Obviously, McClendon goes down, which, we've had guys rotating in at that position. We've got tackles, but you don't want to go – you want to have 3 healthy tackles going into games like this. You don't want 2 healthy tackles. That's not great.
We saw last year the need for Mr. Jones to step in and dominate Will Anderson.
Absolutely. And so you want all these hands on deck. And it seems like, again, other than Nolan Smith, Georgia does have all of these guys back, whereas Ohio State, obviously, Mayan Williams is back and played against Michigan and is back, but Travion Henderson is not going to go in this game. And so seemingly you would give the advantage health-wise to Georgia going into this matchup, which, I don't feel like they need many more advantages, but that's a significant one for if you're a Dog fan.
Again, we are healthiest we've ever been, minus Nolan Smith, and Chaz played admirably. I'm not going to say good, but and there's no one that can replace Nolan, so stop thinking that. Michael Williams going to get some more run. We're going to have to change up the D like we have seen in the previous weeks. But Jalen's back fully healthy.
Marvin Jones Jr. hopefully will be back and go in this game as well. And so there's a lot of options, Georgia.
Now, we're not going to know because, again, Kirby dictates. It is an edict. And Georgia fan, let me help you. You will never know until game time who is healthy and who is not. on any given week, ever. Okay.
The trade-off is that Kirby coaches the game, and so we win most of the games.
That's
So
what I care
something.
about.
If you're interested in that, can I interest you in that? Maybe.
Can I substitute a little bit of tongue in cheek? Yeah, hoping them back this week. Really excited to see if they can go. That's going to be the standard answer for wins on the field. Yes. Now, conversely, look, I'm not Patrick Murphy of Ohio State, beat reporter 24/7, comes out and talking about Michael Hall Jr. coming back, Daniel. So Ohio State's healthy. They're getting healthier. Yes, you named 3 big playmakers, but they're getting back their defensive tackle who's been hurt for half the season.
Oh, similar to A.D. Mitchell then, probably.
Similar to A.D. Mitchell. You would think that there'd be a massive disparity.
Well, A.D. Mitchell was like the starter. He played a ton of meaningful snaps.
Yep.
And then he got hurt, and so he missed, I think maybe it was 5 consecutive weeks. He missed the game. He just missed.
He was just gone
week after
Daniel.
week after
He just
week.
missed that game. Now, here's what's really interesting about the injury report that we're hearing from all them Buckeye beat reporters is Michael Hall Jr. is back and fully healthy. He only played an average of 22 snaps a game, Daniel, for the first half. The second half, when he was injured,
season, when he was healthy,
he was
played
healthy,
22 snaps a game. So then when he was hurt, he played what, 0 snaps a game?
Yeah, he played 19 snaps a game, Daniel.
Oh, interesting. So it
But-
seems like he was mostly the same.
So he's the same, except now, no. He's 100%, Daniel. He's 100%.
Oh, that's
he's
interesting.
ready to go. He's going to change because he was injured when Iowa ran all over the.
Well.
Oh no, Iowa's
that was
beginning
Iowa.
of the season.
That was Iowa.
We can't really talk about.
But I mean,
Iowa.
the Michigan game, surely it was because of injury. Like that now makes more sense because this Ohio State defense we know is unbelievable. It's not
the
just that
best.
they've played terrible offenses all year long.
No,
That has nothing to do with the fact that the defense has got great numbers. What we should probably think is that it's more about like Michigan was able to run all over them because this guy was injured, even though he did play in the Michigan.
Oh, he
game?
played. He played
Double-digit
several
snaps in the
double-digit
Michigan game?
snaps, like he had been all season
Like he
long.
did the
22,
whole season.
19,
So it's
like
the
he did the whole
same.
season. And again,
But
this
it's
is
just
where
a good team played them, and then
he calls
they
this
got whipped.
the
That's
X factor in the playoff, Daniel. He calls Michael Hall Jr. the X factor in the playoff for Ohio State.
I have a different X factor in the playoffs, I think, for Ohio State. Maybe we'll talk about that in the third segment.
Because in the third segment, we're going to
factor.
It's not a defensive tackle who is not on the same page as Jalen Carter.
It incorporates defensive tackles and many other positions as well.
And many other
And
positions.
head coaches.
Head coaches. And something about the trenches and what you do in the trenches and how SEC football is a lot different than big. Okay, well, I can't help you. We're going to come back after this, but first I want to let you know that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration wants to tell you that it's the season to celebrate. You just got off of any sort of celebration you had this previous weekend. You're heading into another big weekend. Celebrating is key, but please celebrate responsibly. If you drink, do not drive. If you get high, do not drive. Don't do it. It's silly. It's stupid. It's foolish. It's pathetic. It's awful. How many more times can I tell you? Don't do it. Get a ride from a friend, sleep on the sidewalk, sleep at a friend's house. Please, your life and the life of others is not worth it. If you drink, don't drive. If you get high, don't drive. The only way to drive is sober. Thank you.
All right, Clint. So switching gears to Ryan Day's presser, he's asked, some of the standard kind of ho-hum, blah, blah, blah questions that everybody gets asked. And I feel for these coaches doing these pressers because it's brutal.
They hate doing them.
Of course they hate doing them. They're football coaches. Ryan Day's a football coach. He wants to go coach football. That's what he's interested in doing, not talk to Chip Towers about his schedule for the next few days. I can't. Ohio State fans, I don't know what your beat writers are like, but it could be worse. Let me just say it could be.
Hold on,
it could be worse.
Patrick Murphy over here, Daniel.
But it could be worse is all I'm trying to say.
I can guarantee you Patrick Murphy is not as bad as what we got.
So an interesting topic that came up I started counting. I lost count after a while. It was 3, 4, 5 times in the press conference, different times. The subject of physicality came up in the press conference. Georgia, a very physical team. How does Ohio State? Michigan seemed to bully Ohio State a little bit, out physical Ohio State, which that's what your big brother does to a little brother. So you understand that that's what's going to happen. But now Ohio State went across the street. They're fighting the bully across the street. This is not going to the bedroom next door anymore.
No,
you're going to sniffing at somebody else's yard.
You're doing different area codes because the area code you're from.
You're just going to see what happens.
You got a namesake in this hood. I gotta get out of Dodge.
The gate on that fence is going to swing open, and something's going to walk out of there, and you just have to hope you're up to the challenge. And that's basically what Ryan Day was asked. And he said, look, we spent our time not playing for a championship because that's what our big brother does, is play for Big Ten championships. We spent our time while we weren't playing for a championship really working on and addressing the physicality of the team. That's what he said that they did. Now, it's interesting because that statement called to mind, I don't know if it sparks any memories in your head, Clint, but we've heard Kirby Smart address the timetable for when physicality is imparted into a football team. I just wonder if off the top of your head you might remember when Kirby Smart thinks that physicality gets injected into a football team.
Well, if I understand anything about culture making and football and how to lead a team of any sort of people, Daniel, really what you want to do is the night before a final, you don't want to do anything to do with your coursework at all until the final 6 hours before you take the test. And then you shove it all in your
semester.
head.
You just take the whole semester off.
Yep.
And then you want to just cram it right in at the end. Yeah. That's not how physicality works, Ryan.
No, it's not.
So
you either have it or you don't. And when you instill it is back actually here in 3 months. 3 months, you're going to want to actually put on your notepad, start physically preparing. Yes.
So that Big Brother doesn't destroy us again.
This is the USC syndrome, Daniel. USC, if you watch it, it's the same exact team. Ohio State and USC are the same exact team. Uber talented players, fast, tempo, offense, yada yada, high prolific coaches, yada yada yada. Can't play defense, and they're also soft. Yada yada yada.
They're soft.
They're so soft, Daniel. And this is what happens when you see USC go play Oregon State or Utah and get punched in the face, and they taste their own blood.
Around. Yeah.
You just get in Ohio State, the same thing happened to you when you face a bigger physical team. Guys who don't care about getting dirty, doing all the little things, you get beat. You can't teach that in 2 weeks.
That's just, I'm not sure there is a good matchup for Ohio State in these playoffs, but I promise you Georgia ain't it. This is not the matchup, because this Georgia team has been physical since G-Day, since spring practice. Yeah. They've been physical since summer workouts. This Georgia team has been physical each and every step of the way this year. The offensive line is playing better and better than they have all year. They've gelled, they've come together, and they are a physical unit. The defensive front we talked about is healthy. They are mean. They are big. They are strong. They are physical.
We got 10 cats on defense that will do an Oklahoma drill against anybody you choose. They don't care.
Not a bit. Not a bit. Some of them play defensive back. They'll be fine.
10 starters would be totally fine doing whoever you want.
And they're all led by Pops, by JDJ, number 10 in the middle. That's the guy that really sets the tone for how physical this Georgia defense is. But yeah, we talked about 13 personnel on offense. We talked about this is just the identity of Georgia. I'm not saying Ohio State can't win this game. Ohio State can win this game. But they are going to get pushed around by Georgia. I promise you. They're going to get pushed around by Georgia.
Folded and Ohio State was more physically dominant from snap one to snap end. That won't be the cause.
Yeah. So again, Ohio State fans, you may be back in the comment section on Saturday night talking to me about how Ohio State won this game. But you will not be saying that it's because Ohio State is the more physically has more physicality, is physically dominated Georgia. And again, that just means that if your team is the more physically dominant team, if your team is the team dictating tempo, if your team is the team that's dictating plays and where the line of scrimmage starts and stops and all of those things, Georgia, that's the thing that gives Georgia the huge advantage in this game.
Look, here's the simple fact. The simple fact is there are people who cover college football for their livelihood and do so every week for nationally syndicated things, and they come to Georgia games, and they sit on the sideline, and they do warm-ups, and they watch the game. And then what they say, every last one of them, it's if you had a bingo card for Georgia games, you would wait for a sideline reporter to talk about two things. One, the abnormal size of these guys. You'd hear him talk about Big O.
Darnell Washington. Just wait.
I guarantee you, they will make a big deal out of how it makes other large humans dwarf. And they'll talk about Jalen Carter. And they'll talk about Pops. And they'll talk about how – and then all of a sudden, Christopher Smith and Malachi Starks and JDJ, and everybody will start hitting. Then they'll see the offensive line. They'll see McClendon. They'll see Tate overpower and push a pile. And they will say on the broadcast, this team is imposing their will on fill-in-the-blank team, Ohio State. You'll be the team on Saturday. It happens literally every single week, and we hear it on the bingo card every single week. And these are people who are taken back by it, Daniel. They're shocked by
Absolutely.
just how physical this team is and how big and nasty they are, who do cover college football every day of their lives.
Yeah, and I mean, it's if Ryan Day thinks he's going to put that in the arsenal, in the repertoire of Ohio State, he truly is an idiot if he thinks that. And I'll just tell you, he's not an idiot.
No.
He knows.
He knows he can't do it.
He knows he's not going to. And that's why you're not going to get – if Ohio State wins this game, it will be because Ryan Day figured out a way to win without being the more physical team.
They're going to – the only way they win is I think I'm going to go back. I talked to Aaron Murray a little bit on this podcast. I'm going to go back on my prediction. They're going to try to run the football early to see what they got. It's going to get nowhere. And they're just going to start taking shots downfield, Daniel. That's the only way they got going on. That's what Aaron suggested. That's what you've suggested. It's going
Me and
to
Aaron
be –
Murray typically have a lot of the same ideas. So it comes with the territory.
I don't –
Two Georgia greats. You're just describing two University of Georgia.
I think I have
alumni.
too high of an opinion on Aaron to think that he has the same thoughts you do.
Well, listen. Maybe I'll get him to come co-host the podcast if he polish up that LinkedIn.
Hey, everybody, we're going to come back this week. Here's the schedule. We're going to have a crossover episode later on this week, so be looking out for that. Ohio State Locked On is going to come on this podcast. We're going to talk to him.
To see it.
Love to see it. We're going to do another episode tomorrow, and then Saturday morning, get up with us because your boys are going to have something.
Might be out Friday night. Might put it out Friday night. It'll be out Friday night, Saturday morning. Friday night there will be a recording.
Yes.
I cannot attest to what will be on that recording.
It's going to be the night before the game.
Yeah. So prepare yourselves because it's going to be
grab a
bucket
bottle. Yep, grab a bottle of your favorite bottle and a bucket. This is what the fan experience at Locked On Bulldogs.
Mercy. Where's that been?
It's going on a t-shirt. I'll tell you that much right now.
A bottle and a bucket.
Bottle and a bucket. This is how we do Georgia football.
And then we'll be here on Saturday night after the game for the recap, as always, the overreaction show. So join us. We'll be back. We got episodes coming at you most every day the rest of this week. And so can't wait to have you along for the ride. And we'll see you tomorrow. Locked On Bulldogs podcast.